Simpson. Mr. Parliamentarian, do we have our necessary quorum? We do. Yay. Way to be here, people. I am Scott Morgan. I am your moderator for but a few moments, I hope. So we will get going. I'm calling you to order. Our first line or order of business will be to approve the agenda. I have a modification for it. The agenda is found on page 10 of the annual report that you should have picked up or grabbed at some point. If you need it, there's plenty of copies available. The item that I would like to add is a new number 9 before the open forum. We want to have a capital campaign update by Devin Kim, the chair of the steering committee for our capital campaign. So that I would like a motion to approve the agenda with that modification. And we are going to start with, I'm sorry, this is a good point. Larissa, our very good clerk, would love it if you would state your name so that for the minutes, because it's hard, especially when she's facing this way, to grab who it was. So actually, I didn't see. Who made the motion? Okay, Kathy Bowen. Yeah. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair.
Did you get the second? I'll get to your point of order here. Is that a point of order you have, I gather, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Okay. Steve Barat seconded. Okay. Jonathan Becker, do you want to state your name, Jonathan?
Jonathan Becker.
Thank you.
We have a discrepancy between the PDF and the hard copy on the agenda.
Okay.
The special called congregational meeting is omitted from the PDF copy.
The minutes and that item?
So I would ask that you all deny the motion and we be more specific about which agenda we are approving.
Okay, I don't think I'll deny the motion. What I'll do is ask for the makers of the motion in a second to accept a friendly amendment that clarifying that the agenda that we are approving is that which is found in the printed. And Jonathan, I want to make sure I understand. You're saying that item number 4, approval of, which in the hard copy, approval of the minutes of the February 5th, approval of the minutes of the September 10th called meeting is not on the PDF?
It is not on the PDF.
Okay, so for those who are watching on PDF, there is item 4 in the printed copy, which is approval of the minutes from the September 10th, 2023 called meeting, and I will be the person leading that. Does the PDF copy have the minutes that are included in the hard copy? The minutes are also not in the PDF. Excuse me? Yeah, no, the PDF will be edited, but for those at home or wherever you are watching this, thank you, Jonathan, for pointing that out. Kathy Bowen, will you accept that as a friendly amendment? Okay, and I forgot, Steve? Yeah. Yes. Okay, that motion has been amended. Any other points or comments? If not, is there a motion, or is there, say aye if you want the agenda. Aye. Way to go, come on, with energy. Opposed? Great, we have an agenda. Apparently we have a couple of agendas, but we're going to use this one. And with that, we will go to our invocation by our lovely pastor.
All right, let's pray. Let's ask God to be with us in this time. God, we thank you that you go before us every step of our way, that you hem us in from behind, that you are with us from our rising to our lying down. We ask that you would be with us in this hour of reflection on the year's work and aspiration and hope for the year ahead. Be with us, oh God, in this time. We pray it in the strength of your Spirit and in the name of your Son. Amen.
Thank you. Our first item is to approve the minutes of our next item, approve the minutes of last year's annual meeting. Those minutes are in, I think, both PDF and the hard copy. Is there a motion to approve those or any suggested changes? A motion? Anyone? Some? Doug Eason moves it. Second? Got this? Oh, they got a different one. Sorry. We'll get you next time. Dave Ambler. Seconded. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor of approving last year's minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And thank you, Larissa, for those minutes. We next go to the... what? Oh, David? Oh, I'm sorry, David. Yes.
Minutes for the January
Yeah. The February, last year's called meeting are also not in,
Earlier January this year. which was
yeah,
all in all.
those will be approved at next year's. We decided, because it's a different calendar year.
But it's not a different annual report.
It's just, we went back and that was seemed to be the precedent. I mean, it was just a judgment call that the minutes will be, I agree. I mean,
We should be approving all congregational meetings for the year between February and February.
that was, the concern David is raising is that we had a meeting in January for the a called congregational meeting to whether or not to approve a capital campaign, which we did approve, and his belief that those minutes should be also on the agenda for approval. There had been some discussion about that. We had made a decision that it was a different calendar year so that they would be picked up next year. I think David makes a legitimate argument, but we don't have those minutes in front of us and they're not on the agenda. So I think that will just be an error on my part as the one who sets the agenda. So we'll go back to the motion that is there, which is for the approval of last year's annual, or did we do that? We did that. We approved it? Okay. How am I doing? Okay, now we'll go to approval, number 4, approval of the minutes of September 10th, 2023, called meeting. This was for the Constitution and the bylaws. Those minutes are in the hard copy, apparently not in the PDF copy, but they will be. They are in the PDF? Page 38 of the PDF. On the phone, so perhaps you should use your phone for your PDF. That's confusing. Okay, we're going to make the printed and the PDF match up. That was believed to, yeah. But we are doing it, excuse me? A voice from heaven. Where is Erica? Oh, back there. Is there a second? Thank you. Your name? Yeah. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We'll now go to recognition number 5, recognition of boards, officers, and committees. This is always inadequate, I think, just to thank the amount of work that everyone has done in this congregation, the number of members on boards, on committees, on task force, on council, just so many efforts, plus all the mission work that people work on, whether it's Link or Family Promise. This is a thank you to all those who are going off these boards or off these committees. And it's genuine, even if it's inadequate. I do want to point out 2 folks in particular who are at the end of distinguished terms, or really 3, but 2 that I was going to point out was, one is Devin Kim. She's our immediate past moderator, so she's on the end of her 3rd year of the moderator cycle. She's not going anywhere because she is now going to be chair of the capital campaign, but do not expect me to be the chair of anything next year. But she is going to, she has been tremendous. The amount of work she did heading up the facilities task force that helped put things in kind of the order that we needed so we could consider what we wanted to do first was amazing. I did not know Devin well when I was picked to be, asked to be, whatever it was, to be Moderator Elect. Probably why I continued to call her Kim for a while, until she politely pointed out that was not her first name. But I have learned that she is a wickedly smart, unbelievably hardworking, and with the addition of a lovely sense of humor. And I owe so much to Devin and all the work, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. And the other one I wanted I would be amiss not to mention, to put it mildly. Donnie is at the end of the 6 years that both the old and the new bylaws have as a term limit on treasurer. Same is true for the office of the clerk. So she is, like Devin, not going anywhere. She is going to chair the fundraising committee, which is something that we desperately need to bring order and cohesion and an updated approach to how we do things as the world changes. Donnie is uniquely hardworking with what she has done for this church. So she must have started, she's always been here, but I mean 2018 as treasurer, does that sound right? Is that somewhere in there, 17, 18? Which, as you may recall, covers a rather tumultuous time in our existence between the changing of the pastors, the shutdown with COVID. And she hung in there and guided us through a really difficult time financially. And it's amazing the level of talent we have in this church. And when you see it in somebody in particular like Donnie, we are just very grateful. And I just want to have everybody join me in thanking Donnie for what she has done for us. And there are many others. Rich Brett, I think, is going off as deputy treasurer, but Rich is silly signed up for something else, so we're not going to say goodbye to him. And then I will go off to have the presentation of and approval. It's actually receipt, isn't it, of the financial report? Yeah, so we're really presenting and receiving the financial reports as opposed to approving. It's a technical difference. For that, Donnie Mover as treasurer.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this morning. I have great news to report. Plymouth finances were really strong during 2023. Your incredible generosity, coupled with staff fiscal responsibility, led to a modest surplus of $24,926.36. And in addition to ending the year solidly in the black, we were able to complete some painting and some refurbishment and to cover the feasibility study for our capital campaign using cash flow instead of endowment. Pledge income was higher than expected, with $20,335.64, I like cents, in pledge overpayments and $22,050 in new member pledges, so thank you. Total pledge income for 2023 was $860,927.97, and we also have received $46,943.70 in one-time gifts for 2023. We have experienced a consistent increase in contribution no pledge during the past 2 years. The Payroll Protection Program monies funded payroll for 8 weeks during the pandemic, and this savings has allowed us to adopt a 2024 budget that incorporates the requests made by your church boards and committees and a cost of living adjustment for staff. We feel confident in the 5-year plan we have developed to build on our financial strength and sustainability despite difficult economic times and a national decline in church giving attendance. Plymouth consistently defies the national trend and continues to remain strong, active, and fiscally stable. God is at work through Plymouth Church. As we look back on 2023, the best way to describe Rich and my thoughts about Plymouth finances, both short-term and looking forward, is gratitude. Thank you for your generous contribution of time, talent, and treasure, because we are highly dependent on all three. I also want to thank you for the opportunity to have served as your treasurer. It has been an incredible experience. I have loved working with you, building with you, and celebrating with you. I am amazed at what you have done during the past 6 years, measurably increasing the financial strength and flexibility of Plymouth Church while welcoming 3 new pastors and living through a global pandemic. The Plymouth community is truly amazing. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Melissa Perderio, our staff accountant. She is an incredible gift to Plymouth. Finally, there just aren't enough good words that I can say about my dear friends and colleagues, Rich Beretta and Stephen Carter. They have both been such an integral and strong part of Plymouth in so many ways. They have brought priceless insight to the Plymouth financial process, and I am so grateful for their work. We would not be where we are today financially without them. Rich, you are such a great listener and a good communicator, and you are going to be an amazing moderator. And Stephen, out there remotely with your COVID, you are the best accountant I know, and I'm so happy to put the treasurer reins into your capable hands. Plymouth Congregation, thank you for allowing me to serve. Mr. Moderator, I move that we accept the 2023 financial statements as presented.
Is there a second?
Susan Osborne, second.
Nicely done, Susan. So we have a motion. A motion and a second to receive the financial reports as presented in our report. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We next go to the nominating committee report and election of officers. Sonia.
All right, good morning, everyone. So as moderator elect, I was in charge of the nominating committee process this year. And let me just say, for anyone that thinks this is easy peasy, it was actually one of the more difficult things that I've ever done. And I was a public health worker during COVID, so should give you an indication. I am continually in awe of Congregationalism. I grew up in a very different church that gave me a wonderful faith foundation, but did not operate. Like, if you can imagine 180 degrees different from how Plymouth operates, that's the church I grew up in. So I am always in awe of the way that this congregation steps up to the plate and takes on leadership roles. I want to say a special thank you to Sarah Witten and Dave Ambler. I see Sarah. I'm neglecting to see Dave is over there. Dave and Sarah joined the nominating committee in addition to Devin and Scott and myself with staff support from Heather and Valerie to help us work through the nominating slate. And they were chosen specifically because we wanted to assure that we had a diverse set of perspectives, a diverse set of life cycles, a diverse set of how you engage with Plymouth Church to step into leadership roles. We really wanted to pick people that were going to be able to represent a wide variety and a wide swath of what Plymouth really truly represents. So I would like to have a moment for a round of applause for Sarah and Dave because they did exceptional work. So the nominating committee met several times. During that time, before we started actually going through names, we took a meeting just to set expectations and set parameters about what we felt like would be important to bring on to the Plymouth leadership. We took a lot of time to engage in prayer about the people that we were asking to come on so that we would feel like we had a faithfulness in God in the whole process. Once we did that and we were able to kind of set a criteria list to be able to assure that we were getting a wide perspective, we actually went through the process of coming up with names. Again, this was, I called it building the Jenga tower because it was very precarious, and at certain moments I was like, this isn't gonna get done. It's gonna be the first year that's not getting done under my watch. But Heather told me to just have faith because it does get done, and she was correct. So with that, I will end by saying a big thank you to everyone who has agreed to move on to the nominating slate. This will be a new year with a new governance structure, and so it was not an easy ask for people to come on. It was something that we knew would be above and beyond. But I was pleasantly surprised with the people who enthusiastically said yes to joining the nominating slate. And I just want to say that I am so grateful that you have said yes to this ask. And I very much look forward to working with you in the upcoming year. And so with that, do you want me to make the motion or do you want it from the audience? Okay. So, Mr. Moderator, I move that we accept the nominating committee slate as outlined starting on page 40 of the printed agenda.
Is there a second for the nominations? You're a good person, James. One thing a couple things I should note. One, we are now operating under the new Constitution and bylaws. Those, when we passed them back in September, part of the motion was that they would become effective at the call of this meeting, not the call of this meeting, but the call to order of this meeting. So we are now under the new bylaws. The other thing to note on the bylaws nomination is there's 2 pages. One is the council committee, which is really, that page is an overview of the new governance. The boards are just a one line at the bottom of that page, not to diminish their value by any means, just because they're all listed on the next page. But the council committees are approved by council, and it's a much more invigorated body of committees. We've basically, the last few years, have really had only personnel committee. History was a committee, and that's certainly been active as well. This is a different structure on that. The boards are very similar to what the boards were before. There's a little bit of a change in one of the Christian Ed is now 6 members instead of 9 members. That's, all of these are at the determination of what the boards wanted. But those boards, and unlike most years where you elect only the new members, you are electing everybody because the authority under which the existing members were elected has been disbanded, and so you are now operating under a new governing document. It's just the lawyer and me saying for them to have the authority, everybody needs to be approved. It's the same people for the most part. I mean, you always have a few people who don't want to continue, but for the most part, the people in their 2nd and 3rd year on those boards are the same people. They're just being re-elected for that remainder of what they thought was their term. A lot to throw at you, but I wanted to help people understand. Are there other questions on what the nominating group did or did not do, or questions? Seen what? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Valerie has pointed out part of the new bylaws, or new policy really, requires biographies of the people that we have nominated. We, for this year, did it for the officers and the council members because those are going to be critical positions. And there are brief bios in your report trying to help. You might not know all of these people. I didn't know all of these people, which is a good sign. I mean, we're trying to get new and different services in different places, as Sonia pointed out. She did an amazing job, and I want to get to that, but I just thank you. Make sure you see those bios that are in there. And I think those will evolve as we figure out what kind of information people want, but we were sort of doing this under the old bylaws, but for the new bylaws. With that, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Yes. Thank you. And I want to thank Sonia for the amazing amount of work. And you understand, this is the woman who organized those massive vaccination group clinics out at the fairgrounds. And for her to find this complicated gives you an idea. Nobody was trying to run her over, I guess, but it was still interesting. But she and then Heather and Valerie for the staff work that they did in helping us kind of come up with the names and the people that we could choose from and reach out to. Now I get to the new item that we added to the agenda, which is a capital campaign update by Devin Kim, who is the newly named chair of the steering committee.
Did you not vote on the budget on the agenda, but we haven't done it yet? We just voted on the financial.
Oh, I skipped it.
Yeah.
It would save a lot of time if we don't do that. Okay, it's been pointed out that I forgot to do the budget item. Mark has been sitting there. Debbie Schmidt is chair of stewardship. She is dealing with some health issues. Our prayers are with her. She has asked Mark to come in from stewardship to lead us in the discussion of the 24 budget. I would point out we are now calling it a budget, not an MSP, a mission spending plan. We just decided to go back to what we called it until about 10 years ago. So, Mark?
All right, thank you, Scott. Again, I am not Debbie, in fact. I'm Mark Reedy. She couldn't be with us today, so she asked me to fill in for her. On the budget, the first thing that I want to do is thank everyone who attended the budget meeting last month and for your questions and comments. That's something that the stewardship board and the people involved in putting the budget together always find very useful. I think in the spirit of a congregational church, we believe in the wisdom of crowds, and I think that's always very evident when we have the budget meeting. Debbie also asked me to thank, in particular, Donnie, Rich, Stephen, who I understand is not here, and Melissa, who I don't see, but I would imagine is she is here, for the hard work that they did on the budget this year. They did a fantastic job putting together a budget that makes sense for the church, that meets all of our church objectives, and that I think would be fair to describe as being a realistic projection of what we can look for in 2024. Along those same lines, we want to thank the boards themselves for their work on the budget. There were no, overstated requests or anything that was kind of pie in the sky, but at the same time, they did a great job, in our view, of putting together budgets that allow the work of our church to continue in 2024. As for the budget itself, there were no significant changes after the January 7th meeting, and after that it was approved by the council. The only change that was made of note was a change moving $4,000 from the interest earned line item to the transfer CY operating reserve. And Donnie, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is basically to facilitate getting started with the Generis contract that I'm sure we'll be talking about here in a moment as we start talking about the capital campaign. And the funding of the solar panels, we were approved for that, and we'll be receiving some tax credits and a foundation grant, if I remember correctly, to facilitate the installation of those solar panels, and that will be taking place this year, 2024? Okay. So thank everyone for their hard work on that. Doug Eason, who I know is around here somewhere, has worked very hard on that, so thank you, Doug, for all of your work on that. Finally, Debbie asked me to thank the congregation for their generous pledges. Donnie already alluded to this, but it really is the church's contributions that make all of this work, that make all of this possible. So thank you all for your contributions and pledges in 2023. And with that, do I ask that we make a motion to approve the 2024 budget?
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there a second? Did you get it? Okay. We have a motion and a second for our budget. Comments, questions, concerns? Let's get a mic. Can you come up here? Or do we have they're on. So David, state your name and then go ahead.
Yes, David Trevino. I was just taking a look at the budget, and I noticed that on page 57 of the report under mission and service, looks to be a typo for 2021 actual. 2021 actual, it has 61,913. That math doesn't add up. So if that can just be...
Was that 41? I mean, should that...
I think that should be 41 instead of 61.
It's actually what, when we need to know that, but the item that we're actually approving is the 24 budget column.
Right,
but
right.
We
But
want
I
to
just
clarify.
wanted
Right,
that
no,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Are our financial folks in agreement on that?
We're looking at it. I mean, we're not approving the 2021, but Rich and I will figure out if it's a typo or what changed in that. I'm
Great.
sorry.
Okay. Thank you, David. So people understand, even that's not been clarified yet. It will be, but this is historical. That column, what you're approving is the 24 column. Other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for filling in. Did a nice job. And thank you, Donnie and Stephen and Rich and all the other people that put so much into that. Now can I go on to the next item? Should never have your wife helping with the agenda. No, thank you. That would have been a big oversight. Okay, now we'll go to the capital campaign. Devin?
Good morning. After the congregation voted to move forward with the capital campaign on January 11th, a Sanctuary and Organ Capital Campaign Steering Committee was created at the January council meeting, and I'm the leader of that committee. Our consultant from Generis provided a committee structure, and we worked to fill the roles to run this campaign. Last week, the committee held our kickoff meeting. The committee is made up of Plymouth staff and myself. Doug Eason is the project manager, Fred Candler as our spiritual awareness director, and my favorite events director, Janice Tobin. She's my mom, with whom I have experience planning hundreds of events, including my own wedding at this church. Speaking of events, please mark Saturday, February 17th from 8:30 to 11 a.m. on your calendar for our stakeholder event breakfast. You will get an invitation in the mail in the next couple of days for this event, and you'll see something by email. Janice is building a hospitality team for this event, and she would love your help. So, Janice, if you could please stand up. Please find Janice, she's right over here. Please find her after the meeting or over email if you would like to be part of that fellowship. While the campaign will officially, publicly kick off in April and end May 19th, this event will be the moment when we learn more about the campaign. I know that we're all excited, and there are questions about process and design and scope, and I am excited for our community to experience this transformative time as we put the oxygen mask on this sanctuary so it can then help us put oxygen masks on ourselves as we come to the shelter for God's people. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Exciting times here at Plymouth. The next item is the open forum. This is an opportunity for people to, any member of Plymouth, to come up and make comments, concerns, ask questions, whatever. Did I not do that right? Okay. Stephen, come up and please state your name and use a microphone because we do have people watching this being streamed.
Good morning. I'm Steve Brott. I have a couple of items that I'd like to touch on. One relates to the capital campaign and to the meeting that we had in January. And I just want to voice a little bit of hesitation that I had coming out of that meeting. First, I want to say I am absolutely supportive of the idea of what we were trying to do with the capital campaign, preserving this sanctuary, repairing the organ. All of things are great goals. What I was uncomfortable with was the unwillingness on the part of leadership to commit to sort of a further step that we take in terms of congregational approval once we've entered into the campaign and we've sort of figured out what we actually have to work with. Scott, I can sort of hear in your head, my God, we are not going to have a congregational vote for every paint chip in this room. And I totally get that. And I understand your comments at the time to the effect of, well, at some point or another, you sort of have to assign the authority to a group of people and trust them to get on with it. And there is a lot of that process that I am willing to accept. But I really would like to see that there is at least one further step as we get down the road, and when we get to the crucial point of going, well, this is the money we've got, and if it's less than we thought, if it's more than we've got, let's have an opportunity to let the congregation weigh in perhaps some formal sense on where we're going to go from there. The other comment, when I was looking through the reports, I noted in Harry McDaniel's report for Music and Fine Arts, the comment that this year saw the official end of the pandemic and the beginning of a new normal. Hooray. In that, I would like to ask that the Board of Deacons or anyone else in leadership that's involved in the decision consider abandoning the practice which we quite reasonably adopted during the pandemic of the sort of group cattle call communion at the front of the church. The background of Plymouth is as a congregational church, and the idea behind a congregational church is that not only is the sort of the power of the church vested in the congregation, but that we are a group working together to move into the future. To me, communion has two parts. One is that we commune with Christ through the receiving of the elements. The other is that we commune with each other as we have traditionally served each other, as Congregationalists do, in the pew by passing the elements, by speaking the words of institution to each other. And I think that's important, and I would really like to see us consider going back to that. And that's all I have to add this morning.
Thank you, Stephen. I think it was too low. Okay. Steve made two excellent points, much more articulately than I will at this point, but one being that with the vote for the capital campaign, a concern that there would not be enough definitive involvement of the congregation in the design, I think, as we move forward. And the second one was his desire that we go back to our traditional congregational means of communion, where we pass it to one another because it's both the receiving and the giving of it, and that's very much at the base of Congregationalism. To the first point, I think those are very valid. The council agrees with you that that's a very valid point. It was discussed at length at the January meeting on how we can do that, knowing that no drive is going to be successful if the congregation has not bought into what it is that we're talking about doing, whether it's the height of this whole thing and the sight lines to all the other different issues that were brought up. That hasn't been resolved yet, but you are right, and there has to be a process by which the congregation has that involvement. But that still doesn't give you any more definitive direction than what you left that last meeting with. And to the second point, I think as far as the communion, that is a classic thing under the old bylaws and under the current bylaws that the Board of Deacons deal with communion, and that is a conversation they have had and probably need to continue having as to when it's appropriate to make a change. So, I mean, I guess I want to make sure you know you're heard. Are there other questions, comments, concerns? This is an open forum. All right. With that, I will go, I believe, to the favorite part of everyone here, something that I have been looking forward to, and I believe many of you have been looking forward to, and that is the presentation of the new moderator. Just as a quick thank you, I think I would be remiss if I did not express my incredible gratitude to this congregation. I earlier thanked the board and committee members for all that they did, but the amount of work that all of you did, a lot was asked of you this past year, between the bylaws, between the Constitution, between the capital campaign, and there were strong, understandable disagreements. And I just want everybody to know that from my perspective, those who even disagreed, I know were coming from a shared love and affection of Plymouth that I have, that they have. Nothing was mean-spirited, nothing was out of line. It is what makes Congregationalism such a difficult but yet vibrant and renewing organization. And I am just so impressed by this congregation and its willingness to show up, its willingness to volunteer, and its willingness to speak openly, and still, though, always out of a common love of our church. So thank you to everybody for all that you did this year. And with that, I want to bring up Sonia Sonia was somebody I only knew as the person who was in the, I forget, green-colored vest, I think? Green, yeah. Those were the cool people out at the 4-H thing when we were doing those big drive-through vaccination clinics, because she was just this incredible force out there of organizing all these volunteers, all these people desperate to get vaccinations, which was kind of a nice thing to look back at, how many people, thousands, were driving through there. But I have learned that Sonia is an amazing organizer, a profoundly faithful, just decent person who has learned to deal with all of the craziness of this position while still raising her kids, her little kids, and switching to another big job, still within the public health area. And it is truly remarkable. And we are, as a congregation, lucky that she is going to be our new moderator for 2024. And Sonia, I wish you the best. These folks will let you know how they feel. And this cross will come in handy. So thank you, Sonia. Welcome.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I will try to be brief because I know that people start to get itchy after a certain amount of time. I certainly do, so no judgment. First off, I want to thank the moderator team that I got to work with this year, which is Devin Kim and Scott Morgan. Words cannot fully express how much I was able to learn from them. I didn't know either of them very well when I first started, and both of them were just incredibly welcoming to me, and both served as mentors for me as I was going through this year of major development for me. And I had a lot of, I'm sure, missed moments and missed opportunities and dumb questions. And they were both incredibly gracious to me as I was coming on. And again, I cannot thank them enough for the work that they did. So even though they both had moments of applause, I would like to honor both of them with one more. Next, I would like to thank Donnie is somewhere. Again, I did not know Donnie very well when I first started, but she is somebody that has put in an immense amount of time and effort and dedication to Plymouth and to our finances, and in all the areas where I feel weak and need building, her and Rich and Stephen have been right there to present the information in an easily understood way, and to answer any questions that anyone may have, and to really make something that's very actually complicated, very transparent and open. Again, coming from the background that I came from, this is wildly different, and if you've been a Congregationalist your whole life, lucky you, and also you may not realize how truly special that is to involve the whole church in a budgeting process. So thank you to Donnie and to those three for all of their work this year and in the past. Finally, I want to thank and recognize Rich Beretta for stepping into the role of Moderator Elect. In the fall, when we were beginning to throw around names for who we thought would be a good Moderator Elect, Rich's name got thrown into the mix. And when after a nominating committee meeting, Valerie and Scott and I just sat an extra few minutes to talk about whether we thought we could get Rich to say yes or not. And I was like, there's no way he's saying yes. Like, we're not that lucky, right? He's gonna say, no, it's not the right time, it's not the right year. And Valerie said, why don't you just ask him and take him to Mad Greek, because he loves Mad Greek and you can kind of bribe him that way. So I did just that, followed the advice of our senior pastor, took him to Mad Greek. and had a really long and interesting and engaging conversation with him in which I got to know him better. I am so excited that you said yes. I'm so excited that Jonah ultimately went to Nineveh because I was very worried you were going to say no. But I am just so excited that you are coming on, and I look forward to getting to know you. So thank you for saying yes. So just a little bit about me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sonia Jordan. James is my husband, helped me out with a second on my motion earlier, so I appreciate that. I have 3 young children, Leo, George, and Kate. So most of my time has been spent in the Christian education, Sunday school, family activity world. I want to give a blanket apology to anyone that may sit behind us, like Geraldo and David and Susan and everyone that's over there, because you are witness to almost continual chaos on Sunday mornings, and you're always incredibly gracious to our family. So apologies for future Sundays, and thank you for past Sundays. So I realize and recognize that I may not know as many people here as somebody who's been in this congregation a little bit longer, but I want to say, please don't let that deter you from coming up and saying hi during coffee hour, from shooting me an email, scheduling some time for coffee, or just saying hi. I love getting to meet people. I truly do. I'm not just saying that. I really, really like meeting and knowing people. So please come and say hi. So 2 of the most important things to know about me, or 2 things to know about me that are the most important in my life are my family and my relationship with God. I already mentioned earlier that I was a public health worker during COVID, and coming out of COVID, I am loath to admit that my priorities were not always aligned in that way. My job was often too high on the list, and God was far too low, and my family fell somewhere in the middle. Luckily, I have a husband who is really great at grounding me, and I soon realized in that time period that I really need to realign my priorities so that they not only served others, but served me. So about 12 to 18 months before Valerie approached me, I started praying diligently about my path. I felt really unsure. I felt really burned out and down. And I felt like I was really at a crossroads. And about a year after regular prayer, Valerie approached me about joining the moderator team. And I was completely shocked by that request. And so I had to take some time to think about it. And my mom told me later, maybe this is just what you've been praying about. And about 8 months after that, I started a new job. And so while I would love to share with you all today that these have both been totally easy, very natural transitions in my life, that would just not be the truth. I don't know whoever here has started a new job in their 40s, but it is brutal. But I'm learning, and this has been a totally new experience as well. I've had many crises of confidence, leaving me with a head full of doubt and a heart full of doubt. But then I remind myself that faith is a choice, and it's something I can choose. So that is what I am choosing to do. And so I'm asking for grace as I try something new, and hopefully we'll have some success. Undoubtedly, we'll have some failures in the upcoming year. But I look forward to working with all of you, and in exchange, I promise to give grace as freely as I can get it. So, with that being said, I will accept a motion to move to adjournment and benediction. Okay, and the second, David and Geraldo for the first and second. But I'm not doing the benediction.
You're the moderator. Did you vote for it?
Oh, I have to call for a vote. That's the first failure. There will be more. All in favor of moving to adjournment and benediction, say aye. Aye. All others say nay. Okay. Good job.
Before I pray again, Scott Morgan, you should know that there is winging its way towards the Lawrence Public Library a gift in your honor.
How?
In gratitude, I know, actually it's for Kathleen. Kathleen, you're welcome. We're giving him back to you. With a little icing, but deep gratitude. It's been a ambitious, rigorous, delightfully weird year with you. So thank you. And now, dear church, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit, and the love of God go with you and abide with you this day and always. Amen.